What's going on, guys, and welcome back to WWE Network and Chill, where I, Graham G.S. and Matthews, break down all the original content I watch on the WWE Network. Today we're talking the latest episode of Prime Target, focusing on NXT UK TakeOver Blackpool II, airing this Sunday on the WWE Network. They've done a number of these before that I discussed here on Network and Chill, they did one covering TakeOver 25 back in June. They did one for TakeOver Toronto 2. They did one for Rhea Ripley and Shayna Baszler back in December, hyping up their NXT Women's Championship match, which was only 15 minutes long, but it was really well done. They also did one for the last UK TakeOver in August, which was phenomenal. All of those Prime Targets really focused on only really one feud. For example, like the last UK TakeOver Prime Target they did primarily focused on Tyler Bate and Walter for the WWE United Kingdom Championship. And it was amazingly well done, but the rest of the card was kind of neglected. Like I said, Ripley and Baszler only focused on that one match, not like Adam Cole and Finn Balor too. The other two Prime Targets from last year, focusing on Toronto 2019 and then TakeOver 25, largely only really focused on the Johnny Gargano-Adam Cole feud. This one, however, focusing on UK TakeOver Blackpool II this Sunday, focused on all of the feuds going into Sunday's show, which I thought was amazing. I thought that was really, really cool, because that's not really something we've seen so far from the Prime Target series, which is a great idea. It did replace yesterday's episode of NXT UK, so if you were looking around for yesterday's episode of NXT UK and you were wondering where it was, this is what aired in its place. So that's why there's no written review of NXT UK over on the website right now, nextthewrestling.net, because this aired instead, and I wanted to discuss it right here on Network and Chill. But yeah, we had hype for all 5 matches on the card this Sunday, including Jordan Devlin versus Tyler Bate, Eddie Dennis versus Trent Seven, the NXT UK Tag Team Title Fatal 4-Way Ladder match, the Triple Threat Women's Title match between Toni Storm, Kaylee Ray, and Piper Niven, and then the main event of Walter versus Joe Coffey for the WWE United Kingdom Championship. This was tremendous. Between this and the video package I saw on Tuesday for Sami Callihan versus Tessa Blanchard on Sunday's Hard to Kill Impact pay-per-view main event for the World Championship, this was a great week for video packages. I thought this was just tremendous. So if you haven't been following the NXT UK product, or you don't really know too much about the storylines going into Sunday's show, I absolutely 100% encourage you check out this episode of Prime Target. I really wish they would do stuff like this more often, not just for like the NXT TakeOver specials, like NXT normal, like NXT, not normal, but like the regular US version, but also the main roster, because we'll see some glimpses of it for a few good video packages here and then, like going into WrestleMania, but by and large, they don't really put their time and effort into stuff like this, but they absolutely should. It would make their shows feel 10 times more important. I am even more excited for this show on Sunday than I was previously, and that's saying something, because this Sunday card coming up for TakeOver Blackpool II is stacked on paper. So anyway, we kick this thing off with Trent Seven saying it almost seems like it comes full circle, talking about how it was in Blackpool 3 years ago, which time flies, I guess, because that blows my mind. It was in Blackpool this same weekend 3 years ago, on January 14th to be exact, that WWE held the inaugural WWE United Kingdom Championship Tournament, featuring Bate, Seven, Pete Dunne, Jordan Devlin was in there, Danny Burch, and a number of others that really got their start. Wolfgang, Mark Andrews in that tournament and became stars. They all ended up signing on for the most part. A lot of them did. I'm sure very few didn't. But most of the people from that tournament, from what I can recall, ended up signing full-time deals with WWE. To think that was 3 years ago really blows my mind, because I was a senior in college at that point doing my undergrad, and I remember watching it like on delay. And it's been 3 years. That's nuts to me. But we hear from Tyler Bate and Toni Storm, who both talk about how important Blackpool is to them, as it was in Blackpool where Tyler Bate became the WWE United Kingdom champion, the first ever 3 years ago. And then Toni Storm, that was where she became last year in 2019, the first ever, or rather not the first ever, but the second ever NXT UK Women's Champion, beating Rhea Ripley on that show. William Regal says that on January 12th in Blackpool, NXT UK comes home, back to Blackpool, because it is on the exact same anniversary of last year's show, which is really cool. I'm not sure if they did that on purpose. I think they're really just starting to put more takeovers on Sundays for whatever reason, which I don't like. That's me personally, but it looks like they're headed in that direction. But yeah, on the exact 1 year anniversary of last year's TakeOver Blackpool show, which was the premier takeover for the NXT UK brand. We hear from all these people like Tyler Bate, Trent Seven, Tony Storm, among others, about their positive memories of Blackpool. Joe Coffey, it's a different story, who acknowledges, there's a lot of positivity that comes out of Blackpool, but for me, I do not have good memories of that main event in Blackpool last year where he fell short of becoming the champion, the WWE United Kingdom champion against Pete Dunne. And then it was after that match that Walter came in, debuted, laid out Joe Coffey right before he went after Pete Dunne. And he recalls feeling like an afterthought in that moment as a result of Walter's debut overshadowing his big performance on that show and falling short of becoming champion. He also talked about how he can't accept that loss and that this time around he needs to prove that he can do it. And I love this idea. I didn't really think about this going into the show before I saw this, that it was on that same show exactly 1 year ago that Walter debuted and took out Joe Coffey. So when they initially announced the Joe Coffey-Walter main event for this TakeOver show, I'm like, oh, okay. I mean, Joe Coffey got a big win over Dave Mastiff on that last TakeOver show in Cardiff in August. And he kind of cooled off after that, and then he got heated back up again with Gallus when they became tag team champions, and he kind of set his sights in the WWE United Kingdom Championship. But still, I mean, it didn't really do much for me on paper until you realize there's a lot of history here between the two, dating back to exactly 1 year ago. If they hammered that home a little better on the actual show, I probably would be more excited for the match than I was, but I really am now after realizing where this all stems from and why they're doing it. Sid Scala, who is the assistant to the general manager in NXT UK, he says that Eddie Dennis has kind of been in isolation since he got hurt earlier on in 2019. He was at that premier TakeOver show in Blackpool. He lost to Dave Mastiff, actually, in a battle of the undefeated stars. I think it was a no disqualification match. Actually, Eddie Dennis may not have been undefeated at that point. He may have already been beaten by Dave Mastiff. But he lost that match and got hurt soon after. But he's been kind of on an island all to his own in the last year. And Eddie Dennis, I think, is the only one involved in TakeOver's show on Sunday that we did not hear from on this special, which was obviously done by design because he's supposed to be like this mysterious person. I don't think we heard from him here. And with Eddie Dennis, too, I think we haven't heard from him at all. He's made a few appearances on NXT UK in the build-up to his match with Trent Seven at TakeOver, but I don't think he has yet to speak a single word in a promo since he's come back, which is interesting. So hopefully at some point we do get to hear from him, but that's all a part of the methodical persona they're going for with Eddie Dennis, which is cool. And Sid Scala says we'll find out in Blackpool on Sunday why he's been seeking attention from Trent Seven specifically, because he's gone out of his way to target Trent Seven since he came back from injury a few weeks ago. And why? The answer is why, and I guess we'll probably find out on Sunday, if not soon after. We go back to Joe Coffey, who talks about how he's wanted to be a wrestler now since he was around 4 or 5 years old. And the earliest memory of wrestling he can recall is of watching a Big Boss Man versus Nails match. Ooh, what an instant classic. He even says, I don't remember the match for being this great match or for all the glamour behind it, but rather the spectacle that was WWE. I think it was at a Survivor Series show, in the late 80s, early 90s, I would assume. A Big Boss Man versus Nails match was what got Joe Coffey into professional wrestling. That's quite amazing. He talked about how he had a dream around where he was 9 years old that he told one of his friends that he had a chairs match with Kane in his dream, and that's how he kind of knew at that point that he wanted to become. He knew years earlier, I would assume. That's when he first got into wrestling. But he knew right then and there that's what he wanted to do as a profession, become a professional wrestler. We also hear how he used to wrestle his brother Mark Coffey. He would deliver a razor's edge to him on their bed. I mean, I think we can all safely say if you have a sibling, at least with brother and brother, not so much brother and sister, but if you have a brother younger or older, if you guys both grew up watching professional wrestling like my brother and I did, and he doesn't watch anymore, but he did for the first few years that I got into it, we can all safely say we tried professional wrestling moves on them at one point or another. And Joe and Mark Coffey were no different. And his trainer talks about how, he would hear from all of his trainees about, I want to work for WWE. Joe Coffey took it one step further and said, no, I don't want to just work there. It's not just my dream. I will be a WWE superstar. No matter what, I will see this dream through and I will become a WWE superstar. So he was committed from the very get-go. We see footage of Walter and Dolph Ziggler, of all people, doing an autograph session in Austria, which is obviously where Walter is from. Walter is very blunt in saying that, hey, wrestling here at a live event in Austria for WWE on the main roster doesn't make me emotional. Rather, I appreciate the opportunity to wrestle here because of Austria's rich history. He said it's also very important for him to return to Austria as the WWE United Kingdom champion. We then transition over to the women's feud going into this takeover on Sunday between Piper Niven, Toni Storm, and Kaylee Ray. Piper said that she and Kaylee Ray previously, or prior to recently, did everything together, as did herself and Toni. They were all really, really close. But as time started to progress and the further along things went in NXT UK, kind of dating back to last year when Kaylee Ray and Toni Storm first started feuding over the NXT UK Women's Championship, Piper Niven started to see changes in the both of them. Toni Storm says that Piper Niven's kind of been like a sister to her for the better part of her life throughout her entire career. And Piper says, I don't know who these girls are anymore. They're not my friends. And I really wish they hammered this home better on the show, because they did allude to Piper Niven and Toni Storm being close at one point, but we never saw the footage that we did here. I don't think I had ever heard that Piper Niven and Kaylee Ray were close, the same way that Toni Storm and Kaylee Ray were close too, which they also talked about in their build to the last TakeOver match, where they were best friends and Kaylee Ray betrayed her and took the championship from her, all that other stuff. But we hear from Nigel McGuinness, who recalls the championship scene where Kaylee Ray beat Toni Storm to become champion, and then Toni Storm came back looking for a fight, and Piper Niven was already in the championship hunt. Toni Storm says that getting that championship taken from me, from someone that she trusted in Kaylee Ray, was what really hurt her, and what was really, she really felt betrayed by that, to the point now where she can't trust Piper Niven, because she doesn't know that, hey, she trusted Kaylee Ray, she turned her back on her. Why do I think that Piper Niven's going to be any different? So I love the story they're telling here. Kaylee Ray says she doesn't have to do anything. They're already feuding with each other, and she doesn't even have to interject herself at all. They're already coming apart at the seams. Their friendship is, that is. Their friendship is coming apart at the seams between Toni Storm, Piper Niven. They're going at it. Kaylee Ray can just watch from the side, watch as they tear each other down, and she could swoop in and steal the victory, which is what I think is going to happen on Sunday. We also hear from Toni Storm again, who it says that no one needs this win, no one needs that championship as much as I do. Piper Niven gets emotional when she talks about how Adrian, who is a Lionheart, who passed away last June, she was, I guess, very good friends with him. He was like a best friend to her, and how she always thinks of him whenever she's feeling down, like she has been recently in this bad blood between herself and Toni Storm and Kaylee Ray. She always thinks about Lionheart. We see some great pictures of the two of them together. And then Kaylee Ray says, to close out this section of the special here, she says, at TakeOver Blackpool II, I'm going to cement my legacy on top of your broken dreams. I thought that was a great line. We then get some hype for the Fatal 4-Way Ladder match for the NXT UK TakeOver, or tag team titles, Gallus say that they want to get their hands on Imperium. They have for a while now. They want to beat the shit out of Marcel Bartel and Fabian Eichner, and even Alexander Wolf, and especially Walter. Joe Coffey wants to get his hands on him as well. Sid Scala says that the tag team division has exploded over the past 12 months in NXT UK, which it really has. They have a lot of great tag teams, even some better than NXT US. They have the Grizzled Young Vets, Mark Andrews and Flash Morgan Webster, Gallus, Imperium, and that's not even counting Mustache Mountain, who aren't currently involved in the tag team title scene. They have The Hunt as well. They have Ashton Smith and what's his name? Oliver Carter, who just debuted. They've kind of formed a friendship. They also have Amir Jordan and Kenny Williams, I want to say his name is. I forgot what his name is. I think his name is Kenny Williams. But either way, they have a lot of tag teams right now in NXT UK. A lot of teams are gunning for those tag team titles. We hear from the Grizzled Young Vets, who recall losing their championships in Cardiff, that, admitting, or rather claiming, that Sid Scala and the NXT UK GM Johnny Saint have, a vendetta against the Grizzled Young Vets, which is why they were put in a multi-man tag team title match at TakeOver Cardiff, which is why they lost the titles, they say. Gallus say that this ladder match is going to be brutal. Grizzled Young Vets say that, they're going to reclaim the championships they should have never lost. And we also hear from Imperium say, this is not what we're about. We're not about ladder matches and hardcore matches, but we will do whatever we have to do to take the gold home to us. And we will walk out with all the championships, with them being the tag team champions and Walter being still, hopefully, the WWE United Kingdom champion. Speaking of Walter, we hear from him, and he compares Austria to Glasgow, which is where Gallus is from, Joe Coffey's from. Like I said, Gallus also plan on returning to Glasgow with all the gold. We see some shots of them at like a soccer game or football game, as they call it, over in Europe, which really is what it is. I don't know why we here in the U.S. call it a soccer game. It's very stupid when you think about it, but just to differentiate here, they were at a football game over in Glasgow, and they promised to come back as the NXT UK Tag Team Champions when all is said and done. We then get some hype for Tyler Bate versus Jordan Devlin, probably the match I'm most looking forward to on Sunday. The whole card should be great, and definitely the main event, the Fatal 4-Way ladder match, I'm very excited for. But Bate and Devlin specifically could be a fucking banger. This match has all the potential in the world to be really, really, really good, like a show stealer even. Tyler Bate says that he lost the biggest match of his career in Cardiff against Walter. He fell short. He was unsuccessful in taking that WWE United Kingdom Championship away from the undefeated Walter. Meanwhile, Jordan Devlin says that there is not a talent in NXT UK that is more developed or more evolved that is better than him. We hear from William Regal, who says that, he's not one to rank matches, give shit stars, or say that this was the match of the year, but he says that when this match is over with on Sunday, you can basically throw away the pen and the paper, because this match will be the match of the year, which is very high praise coming from a guy like William Regal. So I'm surprised he even said that. That's a lot of pressure. I'm not sure if it's going to be match of the year, but this could be an absolutely amazing match if given the time and the focus it deserves at this show on Sunday. Jordan Devlin says, listen, I'm not saying he's not good, talking about Tyler Bate. I'm just saying I'm better. I thought that was a great line. Very simplistic, but I thought it was great. Tyler Bate also says, I'm done letting myself down. I'm finished letting other people down. And it's time to see if you, Jordan, can live up to your own hype. Such a great fucking line. I thought this part of it was one of my favorite parts of this entire special, probably because I'm most excited for that match. But they made it feel so personal, and Jordan Devlin is so good. I've become such a fan of his over the last year in NXT UK, through his mic work specifically, but his in-ring work is second to none as well. The guy is just so fucking good. We also hear from and see Joe Coffey preparing for his match with Walter. We see him making coffee. Ha ha ha. We see Gallus discussing his disappointment last year and failing to become the champion, how he's going to right that wrong this year in Blackpool at TakeOver Blackpool II. Coffey talks about how he's working on his speed, his agility to combat Walter's offense, and Walter says, listen, he thinks he's going to be in charge on Sunday. Walter's going to be in charge, so fucking deal with it, bitch. He doesn't say that, but he probably should have. It would have been cool. No swears on this Prime Target, but Walter says, listen, he can fantasize all he wants. I'm walking out still the champion on Sunday. And then Gallus says they have all the confidence in the world in Joe Coffey, saying that, Walter, listen, dude, you went 40 minutes with Tyler Bate in Cardiff. That's great, but Joe Coffey is not Tyler Bate. He will destroy you, defeat you. He will knock you down any day of the week and twice on Sundays, including a TakeOver Blackpool II coming up this weekend. And then to close this thing out, we see all the matches previewed, including this match with Joe Coffey and Walter. We see a preview for Jordan Devlin and Tyler Bate, a preview for Eddie Dennis versus Trent Seven, the Fatal 4-Way NXT UK Tag Team title match, the Triple Threat NXT UK Women's Championship match. God, this was fucking awesome. This was easily the best Prime Target they've done to date, and all of them have been great, but this was such a great fucking piece of business. I cannot recommend this enough. This was so good, especially if you're someone that does not follow the NXT UK product regularly. First of all, you should. Second of all, watch this show ahead of TakeOver on Sunday, which I implore you to check out. It's airing at 12 noon on Sunday Eastern time, which is really cool. I'm not sure if I'm going to be watching it live. I might wait to watch it with Alexis until she's free that day. But I'm very excited for this show, and this special only amped up my excitement that much more. So definitely check it out right now on the WWE Network. Prime Target, NXT UK TakeOver Blackpool II. So thank you guys, as always, for checking out my editions of WWE Network and Chill. I appreciate it. Be sure to like the video, drop a comment, share the video, and subscribe to the channel for more daily content. Not sure what's going to be going up tomorrow here on the channel. I do know, though, we are getting a new Broken Skull Sessions after TakeOver on Sunday, with Stone Cold Steve Austin interviewing the big red monster himself, Kane, which is awesome. So I'll probably try to watch that on Sunday since it's airing early. TakeOver will probably wrap up around 2:33. I'll probably watch that first, then review it for Monday, and that'll be up on Monday here on the channel. But yeah, with all that being said, guys, have a great rest of your weekend. Enjoy TakeOver Blackpool 2 on Sunday, which, again, you should absolutely check out. I cannot recommend that enough. I'm Graham Giuseppe Matthews, and I'll catch your ass down the road.